Hi everyone. It's important to know that modern high-quality lenses are not only glass and metal anymore, they're computers. They communicate electronically in many ways with the camera. It's a common misconception that the tapping console is used to correct errors in the production of each lens, but there's more to it than just that. Using a tapping console, it gives you the opportunity to maximize the potential of your lens through updating the firmware, focus tuning, and adjusting some of the key lens operations. The tapping console can further adjust primary function of your lens, such as autofocus settings, vibration control, and the focus range limiters. We will explain each of these unique features in different video chapters. To further understand the need of a tapping console, it's important to realize that different photographers have different needs. As an example, I mainly shoot landscape photography, and when you look at some of my recent work, you will see a lot of wide-angle photographs, where the focus point is at infinity, whereas someone shooting products with a macro lens in the studio will have a completely different set of needs in terms of focus. Customizing your lens for your own requirements, together with fixing potential front or back focus on your DSLR camera, can be vital to achieving the results you desire. But firstly, you have to install the tap-in utility software from the Tamron website. Then, connect the tapping console to your computer and start the program. After the software is running and the console is connected, attach the lens to the console. The alignment marks on both the lens and the console will help you to attach the lens. Push the tapping console onto the lens and turn it until you hear it click in. After the lens has been connected correctly, the information about your lens will be displayed on the screen. Now, we are ready to begin using the console. As much of a chore as it sounds, updating firmware is an important step in order to maximize the potential of the lens's operations. As an example, a recent firmware release by Tamron allows you to use some lenses on Canon R and Nikon Z mount cameras. To see the up-to-date list of all compatible lenses and functions, please check the Tamron website. First of all, we need to check, does my lens need a firmware update? Once your tapping console is attached to your computer and the lens is attached, you can update the device itself and check if your lens has the latest firmware version installed. The tap-in utility software will automatically check whether there is a new firmware version for your lens. If there is one available, it will ask you to run the update. Alternatively, you can navigate to the firmware button on the main screen. After you click the OK button, the update will start automatically. Be careful, though, not to accidentally disconnect the console from the computer while updating. And be aware that after updating the firmware, you won't be able to go back to an earlier version. If you've already customized the settings on your lens, make sure to back up your current configuration as a template on your computer before updating the firmware. After the update, your lens will revert back to factory default mode. You can install your settings again from your computer after updating. Now I think it's about time to take a look at some more photography. In the end, we're here to take quality pictures. One of my recent trips brought me to East Java, where I took the 24-70 and the 70-200 G2. The terms front and back focus essentially mean that the critical focus point on your image does not lie on the user focus point. If you focus on a spot and the focus ends up being behind the targeted point, it is called back focus. Conversely, if it's in front of the point, front focus. And I found the tapping console to be an essential step in my workflow, as this allows me to adjust the focus to match the camera perfectly. Just be aware that it's not always a problem with the lens, and any movement after pre-focusing can cause you to misfocus on the subject. You can check if your camera and lens combination has a front or back focus yourself. It's important to know that your lens may have variances both focusing at infinity and focusing at close distances. This is the reason why you're using a tapping console, as it is superior than in camera correction, as it allows you to correct the lens at various focal lengths and distances. Now I will show you how to adjust focus for a minimum object distance. Use a simple scale or test chart and focus on a specific mark. You can also simply use a newspaper or a ruler. Set your test chart on a table at a 45-degree angle to the camera. Place your camera on a tripod in front of the chart. Set your lens f-stop at its widest aperture to achieve a shallow depth of field. Use the focus point in the center. Use the viewfinder to focus your image and ensure to also activate the self-timer to prevent vibration. Now take a photo and view the image on your computer screen. You can adjust the focus in the Focus Adjustment tab of the utility software. Then, in order to tune for minimum focus, choose the first focus slider from the left. In case of front focus, adjust the settings to plus. In case of back focus, adjust it to minus. We recommend adjusting the focus in stages in steps of 5 each time. If you want to adjust your focus for the intermediate or infinite focus distance, we recommend taking your test pictures outside. We recommend uniform and continuous subjects, like a series of buildings or objects in a landscape, essentially a scene with some depth in it, so that you can recognize when your subject is focused correctly. While taking the test pictures outside, it is best to aim for bright daylight and avoid morning or evening hours. Try setting the camera up so that the subject is approximately at the set photo distance that you are adjusting for. Again, ensure to use the center focus point and self-timer to avoid vibrations. Now, take the photo and check the image on a computer screen. You can adjust the focus in the Focus Adjustment tab of the utility software. Adjusting for intermediate or infinite focus distance, choose the second or third focus slider from the left. In case of front focus, adjust to plus. In case of back focus, adjust it to minus. We recommend adjusting the focus in steps of 5 and not choosing extreme values for each of the 3 regions. With the tapping console, you have the possibility to customize the focus distance limiter of your lens. In addition to the regular focus distance range, you can also vary Tamron's original range limit. This is a mode, depending on the lens used, where you can set the focus range divided into 2 or 3 areas and limit the focus range according to the distance to the subject. We recommend the focus distance range mode when you have a subject in mind and want your camera to focus on that single subject, avoiding any potential distractions in the foreground or background, as this limits the distances the camera will focus between. If you have a subject in mind, but you also want to be able to respond to sudden encounters with subjects, we recommend the range limit mode. For example, this can be the case when photographing wild birds. The lens will then only focus within one of the 3 range limits, depending on which focus position was closest when the focus was first achieved. When using focus distance range, aim to set the range to be at least 3 points wide. If the range is too narrow, the autofocus might get confused. If your lens is equipped with a vibration compensation system, you can adjust the VC operation mode in the tap-in utility. To do so, open the Miscellaneous tab from the Customization Setup panel. Now you can choose between 3 different VC operation modes, each of which prioritize either Viewfinder or Final Image Stabilization, or a mixture of both. This may sound a bit confusing, so what is the difference between prioritizing stabilizing the viewfinder or the final image? There can actually be quite a significant difference in the resulting image, and there is no right or wrong, it is purely preference. Viewfinder stabilization essentially means that once the shutter button is half depressed, after a brief delay, the viewfinder image is stabilized and the photographer gets a smooth and calm viewfinder while shooting. However, optimizing the vibration compensation for the final image will leave you without the viewfinder stabilization, but it will provide more efficient stabilization without any delay or starting time. Standard mode, which is the factory default setup, strikes a balance between the stability of the viewfinder image and the vibration compensation effect on the final image. This is a personal decision whether one or the other is more suitable for your own photography. Be aware of differences using VC between lens models. A lens with an on-off model can only be customized while in on mode. A lens with a mode 1 and 2 setting can only be customized in mode 1, since mode 2 is used for panning exclusively. A lens with 3 different VC modes can only be customized in mode 1. The manual focus override system allows you to interrupt the autofocus and go to manual focus immediately by touching the focus ring during autofocus. With the tapping console, you can adjust how much you need to spin the focus ring to enter the manual focus mode. The factory setting is balanced to normal. If you like using autofocus to roughly set the focus and then use manual focus for final focusing, we recommend the high stroke sensitivity setting. If you rarely use the manual focus, we recommend setting the stroke sensitivity to low.